I opened the closet looking for a jacket. A guy was standing there, half-dressed, holding his shoes. My wife didn't scream. She just sighed and said, "You're home early." The motion sensor LED blinked red in the corner. 3 days ago, I'd installed that camera after noticing Thalia's increasingly predictable solo errands. The timestamps on her calendar entries always matched mysterious sounds from our bedroom closet. Call it paranoia, but 17 years of marriage teaches you when something's off. "Don't mind me," I said, closing the closet door with deliberate calm. "Take your time getting dressed." The stranger, some gym rat type with too much cologne and not enough brain cells, fumbled with his belt buckle. Thalia stood frozen by our king-size bed, still in her black lace lingerie, the same set I'd bought her for our anniversary last month. "Desmond, I can explain." "Can you?" I pulled out my phone, snapped a photo of the closed closet door, then another of her guilty expression. "Because I've got about 14 hours of footage that might disagree with whatever story you're cooking up." Her face went white. "You've been recording us? Recording my own bedroom? In my own house?" I shrugged. "Perfectly legal. Unlike what you've been doing with half the town's male population." The closet door creaked open. Gym Rat emerged, fully dressed but looking like he wanted to crawl under the floorboards. Smart man. "This is Scott," Thalia said weakly. "Scott." I nodded at him. "Nice to meet you. How long have you been using my closet as a changing room?" Scott's mouth opened and closed like a fish. No words came out. "Let me guess. Personal trainer, CrossFit instructor. You've got that I peaked in high school vibe going strong." "Desmond, stop being cruel," Thalia snapped. "Cruel?" I laughed, checking my phone's camera roll. "Honey, you haven't seen cruel yet. Scott, you can leave now. Use the front door. Wave to Mrs. Prouty next door. She loves gossip." Scott practically sprinted from the room. The front door slammed 30 seconds later. Thalia wrapped herself in a robe. "We need to talk." "No, we really don't." I was already scrolling through the camera footage on my phone. "I've got everything I need right here. 4 different men in 2 weeks, Thalia. 4. Were you going for some kind of record?" She sat heavily on the bed. "It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You've been running a revolving door operation out of our bedroom while I'm at work." I held up the phone. "Want to see the highlight reel? There's this great shot of you and the mailman last Tuesday. Very artistic lighting." "You bastard!" "Maybe, but I'm not the one who turned our marriage bed into a public utility." I pocketed the phone. "Pack your things. You've got until tomorrow morning." "You can't throw me out. This is my house, too." "Actually, I can. Check the deed. It's in my name. Wedding gift from my parents, remember? You never got around to adding yourself to the title." Thalia's eyes narrowed. "I'll take you for everything in the divorce." "With what evidence? That I caught you cheating with multiple partners? Good luck with that." I headed for the door, then paused. "Oh, and Thalia? Your parents are coming for dinner tomorrow night. I thought they'd enjoy seeing what their daughter's been up to." The color drained from her face completely. I left her sitting there and went downstairs to pour myself a drink. The whiskey burned, but not as much as the humiliation. 17 years of marriage, and this is how it ends, with me playing detective in my own home. But the anger was already transforming into something colder, more calculating. Thalia thought she was smart, thought she'd been careful. She had no idea what was coming. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend, Vince. "Poker night at the bar. You in?" I typed back, "Rain check, got some planning to do." Tomorrow night's dinner was going to be very interesting. The next evening, I set the dining room table for 6. Good china, cloth napkins, the works. Thalia's parents, Robert and Margaret, arrived at 7 sharp, along with her sister Jennifer and brother-in-law Paul. They still thought they were coming for a normal family dinner. Thalia had spent the day alternating between threats and tearful apologies. She'd packed a bag, but hadn't left yet, probably hoping to smooth things over before her family arrived. "Desmond!" Margaret hugged me at the door. "You look wonderful. Where's our girl? Getting ready upstairs. She'll be down soon. I smiled, playing the perfect host. Can I get everyone drinks? I made that bourbon punch you love, Robert. We gathered in the living room, making small talk about work and weather. I'd positioned myself near the entertainment center, remote control within easy reach. The flat-screen TV dominated one wall, our pride and joy, Thalia always said. So what's the occasion? Jennifer asked. You two don't usually do family dinners on weeknights. Special announcement, I said. We wanted to share some news with everyone at once. Thalia appeared at the top of the stairs, looking pale but composed. She'd chosen a conservative blue dress, probably hoping to look innocent and wronged. Too little, too late. There she is, Robert boomed. Come give your old man a hug. Thalia descended slowly, like a condemned prisoner walking to the gallows. She knew what was coming, but couldn't stop it without looking even worse. Before dinner, I announced, I wanted to show everyone something interesting. Thalia and I have been working on a little home improvement project. I clicked the TV remote. The screen flickered to life, showing our bedroom from the closet camera's perspective. Date and timestamp in the corner, 3 days ago, 2:15 p.m. What's this? Margaret asked, squinting at the screen. Security footage, I said cheerfully. We installed cameras after some break-ins in the neighborhood. On screen, Thalia entered the bedroom with a man none of her family recognized. They moved toward the bed, hands already roaming. Desmond, Thalia whispered. Please don't. Don't what? This is your home improvement project too, sweetheart. The footage showed Thalia kissing the stranger, pulling off his shirt. Her family watched in stunned silence as their daughter and sister began undressing another man in the marital bedroom. Turn it off, Robert said quietly. Oh, this is just the beginning. I fast-forwarded to yesterday's footage. Here's Thalia with Scott, the personal trainer, and here, another click. Tuesday's mailman special. Wednesday featured the grocery delivery guy. Quite the productive week. Margaret made a choking sound. Jennifer covered her mouth with both hands. 4 different men, I continued conversationally, in our bed, while I was at work, earning money to pay for this house and everything in it. You sick bastard, Paul finally found his voice. Recording your own wife? In my own bedroom, perfectly legal. I turned to face Thalia's family. Did you know about this? About your daughter's extracurricular activities? Of course not, Robert snapped. He looked at Thalia with disgust. How could you do this? Thalia burst into tears. It's not what it looks like. It looks like adultery, Margaret said coldly. Multiple counts. The marriage has been over for years, Thalia sobbed. We've been living like strangers. So, you decided to invite half the town into our bedroom? I clicked off the TV. Dinner's ready. I made your favorite, Margaret. Pot roast with those little potatoes. We're leaving, Robert announced, standing abruptly. Dad, please. Thalia reached for him. He stepped back like she was contagious. Don't. Just don't. I need time to process this. Margaret was already gathering her purse. 17 years of marriage, Thalia. 17 years and this is how you throw it away? You don't understand the pressure I've been under. Pressure? Jennifer's voice was sharp. What pressure justifies cheating with multiple men? The family filed toward the door without another word. Thalia followed, pleading, but they ignored her completely. Car doors slammed in the driveway. Headlights swept across our front windows as they drove away. Thalia stood in the doorway, mascara streaking down her cheeks. Well, I said, turning off the dining room lights. That went better than expected. She whirled around. You destroyed my relationship with my family. I showed them who you really are. There's a difference. I headed for the kitchen. Your bag's still upstairs. I suggest you collect it and find somewhere else to sleep tonight. This isn't over, Desmond. I paused at the kitchen doorway. You're right. It's just getting started. After she left, I sat alone at the dinner table, eating pot roast and planning my next move. The camera footage was just the opening shot. Thalia wanted a war. She was about to get one. Word spread fast in our small town. By Thursday morning, everyone knew about the dinner party disaster. Mrs. Prudy had apparently seen Thalia leaving with a suitcase and started the gossip chain immediately. I was replacing an HVAC unit at the Hendersons' house when my phone rang. Danny Morrison, my oldest friend since high school. Des, man, we need to talk. About what? Come on, the whole town's buzzing about you and Thalia. Some pretty ugly stories going around. I finished tightening a duct connection. What kind of stories? That you've been secretly recording her, trying to control her every move. People are saying she left because you were getting abusive. And you believe that? Long pause. I don't know what to believe anymore. This isn't like you, man. The Des I know doesn't set up hidden cameras and ambush people. The Des you knew didn't have his wife screwing half the town in his own bedroom. Look, I get that you're hurt. Hurt? I laughed bitterly. Danny, she had 4 different men in our bed in 2 weeks. 4, while I was working 60-hour weeks to pay for her lifestyle. Maybe if you'd been home more. I hung up on him. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a group text from our usual Friday night poker crew. Danny, Mike Chen, Steve Rodriguez, and Tom Bradley. The message was from Mike. Hey guys, maybe we should skip poker this week. Let things cool down. Steve replied, Agreed, this whole situation is messy. Tom, don't want to take sides. Danny, Des, you understand, right? We just need some space to figure this out. I stared at the phone. 20 years of friendship, and they were cutting me loose because I'd exposed my cheating wife. Unbelievable. I typed back, loud and clear. Good to know where everyone stands. Then I deleted their numbers. By lunch, 3 more friends had called to check on me, but really to distance themselves. Apparently, Thalia had been busy spreading her version of events. Poor, trapped wife finally escapes controlling, paranoid husband who violated her privacy with secret cameras. The narrative was taking hold. I drove to Vince's sports bar for lunch. Vince had been my boxing coach in high school, now ran the only decent bar in town. If anyone would give me straight talk, it was him. The lunch crowd fell silent when I walked in. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. 20 pairs of eyes tracked my movement to the bar. Whiskey, I told Vince. He poured a double. Rough morning? Getting rougher. I gestured at the silent crowd. Guess word's gotten around. Small towns love drama. Vince leaned on the bar. Want to tell me your side? I gave him the abbreviated version. Hidden camera, multiple men, family dinner ambush. Vince listened without interrupting. So what's your plan now? He asked when I finished. Plan? Come on, Des. I've known you since you were 15. You don't just react. You strategize. What's the endgame here? I sipped the whiskey. She wants to paint me as the villain? Fine. I'll show her what a real villain looks like. Careful. Revenge has a way of eating people alive. Maybe, but I'm not going down without a fight. The bar's front door opened. Danny, Mike, and Steve walked in, saw me, and immediately turned around to leave. Gentlemen, I called out, don't leave on my account. They stopped, exchanged glances, then approached reluctantly. Des, Danny said carefully. How are you holding up? Fantastic. Just lost my wife, my marriage, and apparently all my friends in 1 week. Living the dream. Look, we're not taking sides. Bullshit. I stood up. You already took sides. You chose the cheating wife over the friend you've known for 20 years. It's not that simple, Mike said. Sure it is. She's been spreading lies about me being controlling and abusive, and you bought it without even asking for my side. Steve shifted uncomfortably. We heard about the cameras, man. That's pretty invasive. In my own house? Recording my own bedroom? I laughed. You're right, Steve. How dare I document my wife's adultery in my own home? You ambushed her family, Danny accused. That was cruel. Truth is cruel sometimes. I finished my whiskey. But you know what's really cruel? Having your best friends abandon you because your wife's a better liar than you expected. We're not abandoning you, Mike protested. No? Then why the group text canceling poker? Why the sudden need for space? Why did you all walk in here together like you'd been discussing me? None of them answered. That's what I thought. I threw money on the bar. Vince, thanks for the drink. Gentlemen, enjoy your new friend Thalia. Hope she's more loyal to you than she was to me. I walked out, leaving them standing there like idiots. In the parking lot, I sat in my truck and made a list on my phone. Everyone who'd turned against me. Everyone who'd chosen Thalia's lies over our history together. The list was longer than I'd expected. But that was fine. It just meant more targets for what came next. That evening, I drove to Thalia's temporary refuge, her sister Jennifer's house across town. Thalia's BMW was parked in the driveway next to Jennifer's minivan. Perfect. I didn't knock. Instead, I sat in my truck and waited. At 8:30 p.m., Thalia emerged wearing yoga pants and a tank top, heading for her car, probably going to meet one of her boy toys. I followed at a distance, keeping several car lengths back. She drove to the Riverside Motel, a run-down place on the edge of town where rooms rented by the hour. Classy. Thalia parked and walked to room 12. The door opened before she knocked. Scott, the personal trainer, was waiting for her, wearing nothing but gym shorts. I parked across the street and took photos with my phone's zoom lens. Thalia entering the room. The door closing. Timestamp showing 8:47 p.m. Then I waited. An hour later, I called the front desk of the motel from a burner phone I'd bought that afternoon. Riverside Motel. Hi, I'm calling about a noise complaint. Room 12 is being very loud and my kids can't sleep. What room are you in, sir? Room 15, right next door. It sounds like they're moving furniture or something. I'll send someone to check it out. 5 minutes later, a heavy-set desk clerk knocked on room 12's door. I couldn't hear the conversation, but I saw Scott answer wearing only a towel. The clerk looked embarrassed and left quickly. I took more photos. At 10:15 p.m., Thalia and Scott emerged from the room. She looked disheveled, hair messed up, lipstick gone. Scott carried her purse like a trained pet. More photos. They kissed goodbye at her car, a long, passionate embrace that would look great in divorce court. Best photos yet. The next morning, I created a fake email account and sent the photos to Thalia's boss at Morrison & Associates, the accounting firm where she worked as HR director. The subject line read, "Thought you should know about your employees' after-hours activities." Then I sent copies to the school district where Scott worked as a substitute gym teacher, and to Scott's mother, whose email I found on his Facebook page, and to the local newspaper's tips inbox. By noon, my phone was ringing. "You bastard!" Thalia screamed when I answered. "How could you send those photos to my boss?" "What photos?" "Don't play dumb. Someone sent pictures of me and Scott to half the town." "Gosh, that's terrible. Who would do such a thing?" "I know it was you." "Prove it." "I was home all night, alone. No witnesses, but then again, I wasn't the one having public intimacy at a Fleabag motel. I'm going to destroy you for this. Get in line. Seems like everyone wants a piece of me these days. I hung up. An hour later, Jennifer called. "Desmond, this has gone too far." "Has it?" "Because from where I'm sitting, we're just getting started. Thalia lost her job today. They fired her for conduct unbecoming or some corporate nonsense. Consequences. Novel concept. She's my sister. She's family. She was my wife. That trumps sister." I paused. "How's she taking unemployment?" "She's devastated. 20 years with that company. 20 years of climbing the corporate ladder by sleeping around, apparently. Maybe she should have thought about that before turning our bedroom into a brothel." Jennifer's voice hardened. "You're being cruel." "I'm being honest. There's a difference." "What do you want from her? Blood?" I considered the question seriously. I want her to understand what it feels like to lose everything that matters: job, family, reputation, security. I want her to know what she put me through. And then what? What happens when you've destroyed her completely? Then we'll be even. I hung up and immediately called my lawyer, Sarah Franklin. Sarah, I need to file for divorce. Adultery, irreconcilable differences, the works. Desmond, are you sure you want to move this fast? Sometimes couples can work through multiple affairs with strangers in our marital bed. I don't think counseling covers that scenario. What kind of evidence do we have? Video footage, photographs, witness testimony from her own family. It's an open and shut case. All right, I'll draw up the papers. What about property division? The house is in my name. Bank accounts are joint, but I've already moved my money to a separate account. She can have her car and personal belongings. That's pretty harsh, Desmond. So is adultery. That afternoon, I drove to Danny's auto shop. He was under the hood of a Ford pickup when I walked in. We need to talk, I announced. Danny straightened up, wiping his hands on a rag. About what? About loyalty, about friendship, about choosing sides. Des, I told you. You told me you weren't taking sides, but canceling poker night, avoiding my calls, treating me like a pariah, that's taking sides. Danny sighed. Look, the whole situation is messed up. We just don't want to get involved. By abandoning a 20-year friendship? By staying neutral. There is no neutral when your friend's wife is screwing around and lying about it. I stepped closer. You know what hurts more than Thalia's betrayal? Having my best friends believe her lies without even asking for my side. We're not. Yes, you are. You've already decided I'm the bad guy, the controlling husband who drove his poor wife to cheat. Danny looked uncomfortable. Maybe if you'd handled it differently. How? By pretending it wasn't happening? By letting her make a fool of me indefinitely? By not humiliating her in front of her family? She humiliated herself. I just provided the evidence. We stared at each other for a long moment. This isn't you, Des, Danny said finally. This revenge thing, the photos, getting people fired. This isn't the man I've known for 20 years. Maybe you never knew me at all. I turned and walked away, leaving him standing there with his mouth open. In the parking lot, I made another decision. If my old friends wanted to abandon me, fine. I'd find new allies. People who understood betrayal and revenge. People who wouldn't judge me for fighting back. 3 weeks later, the divorce papers were filed, and Thalia was living in a studio apartment above the laundromat on Main Street. Scott had been fired from his substitute teaching job and was working at a gas station outside town. Word was they'd broken up after the photo scandal. I was having dinner at Vince's bar when Danny, Mike, and Steve walked in. They saw me immediately, but headed for a corner booth, clearly hoping to avoid conversation. I wasn't in an avoiding mood. "Evening, gentlemen," I said, approaching their table with a fresh beer. "Mind if I join you?" "Actually," Mike started. "Great." I sat down uninvited. "How's everyone been? Danny, how's the shop? Mike, still working at the plant? Steve, how's the wife and kids?" They exchanged uncomfortable glances. "What do you want, Des?" Steve asked. "Just catching up with old friends? It's been what, a month since you all decided I was persona non grata?" "We never said that," Danny protested. "Actions speak louder than words." I sipped my beer. "So tell me, how's your new friend Thalia doing? Still keeping in touch?" "This is ridiculous," Mike said, standing up. "We're leaving. Sit down." My voice carried enough edge to stop him mid-rise. "We're going to have this conversation whether you like it or not. You can't just... Can't what? Talk to my former friends in a public place? Exercise my constitutional right to free speech?" Vince appeared at our table. "Everything okay here?" "Fine," I said, without taking my eyes off the three men. "Just discussing old times." Vince hesitated, then moved away, but stayed within earshot. "You want to know what's funny?" I continued. For 3 weeks, you've all been avoiding me like I'm some kind of monster. But not one of you has asked how I'm doing, not one phone call to check if I'm okay after my marriage exploded. You seem to be handling it fine, Danny said quietly. Seem to be. I lost my wife, my marriage, and my best friends in the same week. How exactly did I seem to be handling it fine? The revenge stuff, Steve said. Getting people fired, sending photos around town. That's not handling it. That's losing it. Is it? Or is it the first time in 20 years I've stood up for myself? I leaned forward, lowering my voice. You want to know what losing it looks like? Losing it would be me accepting that my wife screwed half the town while I worked my ass off to support her. Losing it would be letting her paint me as the villain while she plays the victim. So you decided to destroy her instead? Mike's voice was accusatory. I decided to tell the truth. She destroyed herself. By sending private photos to her boss? By having an affair with multiple men and then lying about it? I stood up. But I get it now. You're not upset about how I handled the situation. You're upset that I handled it at all. What's that supposed to mean? Danny asked. It means you expected me to just take it. To be the good little cuckold who pretends everything's fine while his wife makes him a laughingstock. That's exactly what you expected. You're not mad that I got revenge. You're mad that I won. The truth hung in the air between us. None of them could deny it. You know what the real problem is? I continued. You're all afraid. Afraid that if your wives ever pull the same shit, you won't have the balls to fight back like I did. Screw you, Steve snapped, finally finding his voice. No, screw you, all of you. I finished my beer and set the bottle down hard enough to make them jump. 20 years of friendship, and you abandoned me the second things got complicated. You chose a cheating stranger over a loyal friend. Loyal? Mike laughed bitterly. You call secret cameras and revenge porn loyal? I call it justice. But you wouldn't understand that, would you? You've probably never had to fight for anything in your comfortable little lives. Danny stood up, his face flushed with anger. You want to know the truth? You've become someone we don't recognize. The Des we knew wouldn't have done any of this. The Des you knew was a doormat, a nice guy who let people walk all over him. I smiled coldly. That Des is dead. This is who I am now. Then we don't want anything to do with who you are now, Steve said. Perfect. Because I don't want anything to do with fair-weather friends who run at the first sign of trouble. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and guys, when your wives inevitably cheat on you, and they will because you're all too weak to keep them interested, don't come crying to me for advice. You made your choice. I walked back to the bar, leaving them sitting there in stunned silence. Vince poured me another beer without being asked. Feel better? Actually, yeah, I do. Good, because they've been coming in here for weeks, talking about how worried they are about you, how you've changed, how they don't know how to help you. I looked at him sharply. They said that? Every damn night. Truth is, they're scared, Des. Scared of what you've become, scared of what they might become if they were in your shoes. I glanced back at their table. They were huddled together, talking in urgent whispers. Maybe I was too hard on them, I said. Maybe. Or maybe they needed to hear it. Vince leaned on the bar. Question is, what happens now? You've burned pretty much every bridge in town. I considered that. Then I guess I'll have to build new ones. Or leave town entirely. Not happening. This is my home. I'm not running because other people can't handle the truth. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Meet me at the old warehouse on River Road. Come alone. We need to talk. T. Thalia. I showed the text to Vince. What do you think? I think it's probably a trap. Probably. But I'm curious what she wants to say. Be careful, Des. Desperate people do desperate things. I finished my beer and headed for the door. Don't worry. I can handle whatever she's got planned. Outside, I could see Danny, Mike, and Steve through the bar's window, still talking animatedly. They looked like men trying to convince themselves they'd done the right thing. Maybe they had. Maybe I really had become someone they couldn't recognize. But as I drove toward the warehouse, I realized I didn't care anymore. The old Desmond, the doormat, the nice guy, the loyal friend, had gotten him nothing but betrayal and humiliation. This new version might be harder, crueler, more ruthless. But at least he fought back. At least he won. The warehouse loomed ahead in the darkness, and I wondered what final surprise Thalia had waiting for me. The old warehouse squatted beside the river like a concrete cancer, its broken windows staring blindly into the night. I'd been here before, back in high school, when kids came to drink beer and make out away from prying adult eyes. Now it just looked abandoned and vaguely threatening. Thalia's BMW was parked near the loading dock. She was leaning against the hood, smoking a cigarette. I hadn't seen her smoke since college. I parked 20 feet away and approached slowly, hands visible. If this was an ambush, I wanted to see it coming. "Hello, Desmond." Her voice was steady, but I could see the tension in her shoulders. "Thalia, you look—" I paused, taking in her appearance. Thinner than before, dark circles under her eyes, cheap clothes that didn't fit properly. Different. Unemployment will do that. She took a long drag from the cigarette. Nice work with the photos, by the way. Very thorough character assassination. I prefer documentation of existing character. She almost smiled. Still the smartass. Some things never change. Others do, like finding out your wife is a serial cheater. Is that what you think this was? Serial cheating? 4 men in 2 weeks suggests a pattern. It suggests desperation. She flicked ash onto the gravel. But you never asked why, did you? Just assumed I was some kind of nymphomaniac having fun behind your back. Does the why matter? It might. She straightened up, meeting my eyes directly. What if I told you it wasn't about intimacy? What if I told you it was about feeling wanted, feeling desired, feeling like I mattered to someone? I'd say that's what marriage counseling is for. When's the last time you told me I was beautiful, Desmond? The question caught me off guard. What? When's the last time you looked at me, really looked at me, and told me I was beautiful? When's the last time you surprised me with flowers, or planned a romantic evening, or made me feel like I was the most important thing in your world? I opened my mouth to answer, then closed it. I couldn't remember. That's what I thought. She dropped the cigarette and ground it under her heel. We've been roommates for 5 years, Desmond. Polite strangers sharing a house and a bank account. So you decided to fix that by screwing other men? I decided to feel alive again, to remember what it was like to be wanted. By 4 different guys. By anyone. Her voice cracked slightly. Do you have any idea what it's like to feel invisible in your own marriage? To go to bed next to someone who treats you like furniture? I felt an unexpected stab of guilt, which immediately pissed me off. So this is my fault? It's both our faults. But you were so busy being the victim, you never stopped to ask what went wrong. What went wrong is you cheated on me. Multiple times, in our bed. What went wrong is we stopped being husband and wife and became business partners. Efficient, polite, and completely dead inside. We stared at each other across the gravel lot. The river gurgled nearby, and somewhere in the distance, a train whistle echoed through the night. Why did you want to meet here? I asked. Because I wanted to ask you something, and I needed to do it away from all the gossip and drama. Ask me what? Do you hate me? The question hung between us like a physical thing. I hate what you did, I said finally. That's not what I asked. I considered lying, then decided she deserved honesty. No, I don't hate you. I hate that you threw away 17 years for a few hours of feeling wanted. I hate that you lied to me and made me look like a fool. I hate that you turned my friends against me and made me the villain in our story. I never meant for it to go this far. Which part? The cheating? Or the aftermath? Any of it. She wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly looking fragile. I just wanted to feel something again. Anything. And now? Now, I've lost everything. Job, family, home, reputation. Was that what you wanted? I thought about it seriously. At first, yeah. I wanted you to hurt like I was hurting. I wanted you to lose everything like I had. And now? Now I just want it to be over. She nodded slowly. Me too. So what happens next? I'm leaving town. My cousin in Portland says I can stay with her until I find work. Running away? Starting over. There's a difference. She pulled car keys from her pocket. The divorce papers are signed. I'm not fighting for anything. House, money, none of it. I just want out. Thalia, don't, please. She opened her car door. I know I don't have the right to ask for anything, but I'm going to ask anyway. Can you forgive me? Not today, maybe not ever, but someday? I looked at this woman I'd shared 17 years with, now reduced to begging for absolution in a warehouse parking lot. The anger that had sustained me for weeks suddenly felt heavy and pointless. Maybe, I said. Someday. She nodded, tears finally spilling over. That's more than I deserve. Probably. She got in the car, then rolled down the window. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Not just for getting caught. For all of it. For letting us drift apart. For handling it the worst possible way. For making you into someone you didn't want to be. I chose who I became. We both made choices. She started the engine. Try to remember the good times, Desmond. We had some, didn't we? Yeah, we did. I watched her drive away, taillights disappearing into the darkness. Then I stood alone in the empty lot, listening to the river and thinking about 17 years of marriage that had ended in a warehouse parking lot. My phone buzzed. Text message from Vince. How did it go? I typed back, it's over. Good or bad? I considered the question. Thalia was gone, probably forever. My marriage was officially dead. My old friends had abandoned me. I'd become someone harder, colder, more ruthless than I'd ever intended to be. But I'd fought back. I'd refused to be a victim. I'd made them all pay for their betrayals. Both, I replied. I got in my truck and drove home to my empty house, where I poured a drink and sat in my chair, finally understanding that winning and being happy weren't the same thing. But sometimes, winning was enough.